This is for all the candidates. Several years now, we've heard from candidates for mayor, Lee Brown, Bill White, and Denise Parker, who indicated they will address infrastructure needs in our area through CIP and Rebuild Houston. This has yet to occur. We are an underserved area within the district. What are your plans to work with city council members to bring much needed infrastructure developments to the Minitex area?
One of the big problems that you have down at City Hall is from time to time people focus in on one area that's considered a little more attractive or a little sexier than the other areas. And a lot of times the attention just gets focused on maybe a downtown area and downtown redevelopment. But I think that's a big mistake, and what every mayor needs to realize is that this is a very big city and a very diverse city with a lot of diverse neighborhoods with a lot of needs, and you need to be building relationships with super neighborhood groups and civic associations, and of course making sure you're always in constant contact with Dwight Boykins to know exactly what the needs are that need to be addressed in District D. But it is, in all seriousness, it's extraordinarily important to keep the communication going and to spread the money around, and we haven't been doing a good job of that in recent years.
So to talk about Rebuild Houston real quick, the successes, 375 projects since it was created. We have increased our investments from $100 million a year to almost $300 million a year, projected to be over $600 million a year annually in the next 15 years. What we need to do, as I said earlier, we need to focus more into the neighborhoods. We need to empower our district council members. Outside of District Council Member Boykins, who worked on Rebuild Houston, many of my colleagues don't really know the significance of Rebuild Houston. They're just happy to see their project show up on the list. We need to encourage our district council members to get more involved in the process, and that's how we'll empower them. And we need to do a better job of distributing the money across all districts so that we can show investments throughout the entire city. And then we'll do additional investments in the major thoroughfares. As I said earlier, the administration took a position back in 2010 that they were just going to invest in the major thoroughfares, and we need to change that. We need to do a revitalization of our neighborhoods.
You know, I believe that this today's audience is a opportunity to make sure that when we begin to set priorities where we're going to spend your money, that you're included in the process. That's called participatory budgeting, making sure that you help set the priorities for what should be on the CIP, making sure that those priorities meet the needs and the concerns of the community. And so, you know, when you hear neighborhoods complaining about the same thing over and over, and yet the projects are being done offline of what the community feels, then there's something greatly wrong with that. And so my administration will work very closely with council members, but I want to make sure that the people of the community are engaged in the process and are helping us set those priorities. And then lastly, making sure that when it comes to things like Rebuild Houston, that we are making sure that those projects are also being set with your input as party projects. Thank you.
Let me start this answer by saying the following. I don't live in the faux, but they deserve good grocery stores. I don't live in the Fifth Ward, but they deserve good grocery stores. I don't live in the Third Ward, but they deserve wonderful and great streets. A mayoral candidate that would just tell you where he lives and doesn't get the job done is not worthy of this office. I'm telling you as the next mayor of the city of Houston that every community in this city deserves to have good grocery stores, good streets, and good communities. That's the kind of mayor I intend to be. Now, having said that, let me answer the question of economic development in all neighborhoods. How about this idea? That if you are going to do business with the city of Houston, you've got to show us that you're hiring our children and our unemployed in this city. How about that as a policy? How about a policy where we give an advantage to businesses that are actually located in the neighborhoods that they intend to serve? How about that?
So part of the problem is a lack of transparency and knowing where the money's going. And there's a lot of levels of that need to be unwound. I think Rebuild Houston has made it significantly less transparent how the money's being spent. And I'll give you a couple, and also the TERS are another level of that. Let me give you a couple of examples. City Council just recently approved spending $120 million of property tax money to build bus rapid transit lanes to relieve congestion in the richest neighborhood in the city of Houston, which is Post Oak. Now, what could you do with $120 million in District D right now? Mike, you got some stuff you can spend that on? There's a project to widen Gessner out on the west side from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. It's a perfectly good street. How it could possibly come up on the worst first, I have no idea. Because I promise you, I've driven streets in this neighborhood that are in a whole lot worse shape. How is it that we just approved a CIP that has $15 million?
Mr. King, thank you. Your time is up. Mr. McVeigh?
I think you get it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the question because it says that you were promised something by former mayors, and there was no delivery on it. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. I know what it takes to bring up a neighborhood, to bring up a state, to bring up a government. As I said earlier, 30% of the budget for infrastructure needs to come back to the neighborhoods. This is how we are able to improve your neighborhood, improve your quality of life, and bring businesses and jobs to this city. It is not acceptable in this day and age, in 2015, to continue to patch and pray. We can't do that anymore. We've got to invest in our infrastructure. We've got to invest in ourselves. And it's time that we take control of our city and take control of our future. Thank you.
Yes, we can build wealth right here in this city with over 2.2 million people here. Wealth can be started right here. So it goes back to home ownership again. It goes back to entrepreneurship. It goes back to creating jobs for our college children. It goes back to definitely rebuilding Houston and actually enforcing rebuilding Houston. But how are we going to do that? Number one, we've got to get people qualified. So you just can't wake up with these academic degrees, but you're not qualified to purchase a home. You're not qualified to get a business loan. So what is my primary goal? One of my primary goals is to make sure that I actually rebuild Houston from the inside out, from the bottom to the top. And I am Demetra Smith for Houston Mayor.
A part of rebuilding any community, any neighborhood is better infrastructure, better streets, better drainage to reduce flooding. All of that's critically important. You need a reliable and dependable funding source. I think that's critically important. You can do that. It also means that it's important to work with your city council representatives, and the super neighborhoods and the leaders in those communities, so that you can design a community with them in mind. One of the things that I think sometimes happens is we get on Bagley Street, City Hall is on Bagley Street, and they operate from there. Every now and then, if I was your mayor, I think it's about time for City Hall to go on the road. And we can have city council meetings right here in District D, where I would bring the city council folk right here so that you can look at them, and we can do it at night when you're off work, right at this time. I think it's about time to bring City Hall to the neighborhoods, especially those neighborhoods that have been ignored for a long period of time.